let's go through. Let's take a look here at Soundtoys. You got a wet dry mix. If it's on a return track, it'd be all the way wet. If it's on an individual track, it's all the way. You can wet dry mix it, and you can sort of make any sound you want in between. There's no real rules to this stuff, as long as it sounds cool, right? The low cut here is a low cut filter. It's in front of the delay circuit. The high cut filter is after the delay circuit. The low cut allows you to cut lows before it goes into the delay, and the high cut allows you to make massive clouds of feedback and then roll the highs off so it's not harsh. Feedback is the number of repeats, and the echo time could either be milliseconds or musical notes, dotted eighth notes, stuff like that. You can lock it to tempo in the middle section with that little MIDI red light switch. It will lock to the host tempo. And you can also make it swing or shuffle or rush and drag, which is just nonlinear spacing between the repeats. And it has 4 main modes: single echo mode, which you can Haas effect; dual echo, which is two single echoes; ping pong, which each side waits for the other to sound, which kind of opens your ears up wide; and then a rhythm echo mode, which is sort of like a drum programming mode. And on the far right is a saturator. It saturates the repeats, and there's a million saturation flavors, and you can edit your saturation as well. So we'll use a little, just like the reverb, we'll use a little sort of not too, a short little cross stick sound so we can hear what we're doing. And those are the, different musical note values of the timing of the delays. And we'll add a little bit of feedback to add the repeats. One thing about high cutting the delay, psychoacoustically, as things get darker and darker, they feel like they're moving away from you, right? And that creates a sense of motion or moving forward, like you're riding your bike down a dark street and your cell phone falls out of your pocket and you hear it bouncing away from you. It gets darker and darker. I hope that never happens to you. So that's another kind of a nice little psychoacoustic effect too. So that's the swing, right, which is like a blues kind of thing, and it just kind of makes a nonlinear spacing, and shuffle's sort of the opposite, more downbeat oriented. And this sort of delays the first or moves the first hit forward or the first hit back. It always sounds to me a little bit like dropping a coin on a table or something. And here's where it gets crazy, is when we can start to saturate the repeats. You'll see about Echoboy is that there's chorus and there's reverb inside Echoboy. So when you start to build your effects rack and you're like, man, I wish I could just put a reverb in my serial chain. Echoboy is your reverb, and Echoboy is your chorus effect. So don't just think about Echoboy as being one or the other. It's both. We're in single echo mode, but we can stereoize the single echo. There's the width control and there's the left-right offset. So with this, we can either make a very mono delay, which can be cool, or we can make a wide delay. Well, that's just the regular old Haas effect there. But it's nice to be able to widen a mono delay. And here is a dual echo, 2 mono delays. You can make either one, whichever you want. This allows you to make some pretty crazy polyrhythmic things. And you actually hear this on tracks all the time, even though you might not be aware of what you're hearing. And that's a classic 16th note on one side, 8th note on the other. People use that on all kinds of drums and percussion. Now here is a ping pong delay. And this, again, the one side is the ping, the other side is the pong. The ping waits for the pong, and the pong waits for the ping. This has that quality of pulling your ears really, really wide. The next mode is the rhythm mode, and this is set up almost like a drum machine where each one of those green lines is a tap, what we call a delay circuit or a tap, and you can add or subtract or change the volume of the taps and manipulate them in any way. This, if you've never tried this, you guys, try this for drum programming. Take a hi-hat. Take Echoboy, go to rhythm mode, and start to create your own little things. You're going to end up with stuff that you would never end up with if you were just regular hi-hat programming by drawing stuff in, or even performing it with your fingers. You end up with some crazy stuff with this. You can see how like this can take you to some crazy different drum machine programming places if you use it in this way. I think you're going to end up with some crazy results you wouldn't have gotten just like playing around with different things. So now here's some chorusing. And chorus, what is chorus? Anyone? A chorus is a delay-based effect where you take the input signal and you make a copy of it, and you delay it from 20 to 50 milliseconds, and then you modulate, which means that you vary the delay time between 20 and 50 milliseconds with the with no feedback. There's no feedback in chorus. So you take something, you make a copy of it, you delay it 20, 50 milliseconds, and then you modulate that delay time and add it back. And it creates a thickening effect And what's nice is if you take the dry signal and pan it one way and the wet signal another way, you're creating the stereo difference that's a wicked widener. And it's supposed to simulate two people performing the same thing musically, but because they're human, because there's the little variation. So it's a wonderful, there's a natural chorusing whenever humans perform the same thing because they don't do it exactly the same way. And there's great choruses in Echoboy. Can everyone hear how that widens it in a really cool way? It still sounds like a guitar. It still sounds natural, but it's got it's a softer thing, but it's a wonderful, clean widener. It's a great way to create width in your mixes. You'll see, you'll start to appreciate that really creating width does two cool things. It pulls the ears wide, but it also cleans out the center. So this is a great widener. And one of the fun things about going through these presets, now that you sort of know how Echoboy's set up, you can, once you fall in love with the preset, you can touch it up and make it work exactly for you. Change the saturation, the feedback, the echo times, high cut, low cut, anything else. Lots and lots of cool different presets in the chorus folder. And this is showing, actually, we're using a single snare like we know how to and love to do with reverb. And now we're going through the reverb presets because when you're in Effects Rack, there's times you're going to want reverb. And it's here for you, hiding in Echoboy. Has like a wonderful kind of metallic reverb sound. So when you think of Echoboy 2, think about reverbs, because sometimes you're going to want to add just a little bit of reverb. You throw this in the effect rack And then you can wet dry mix in just the amount of reverb you want. Okay, so you get the idea. So finally, I made a little, just an Echoboy only loops, little demonstration of just some very basic dry things with nothing but Echoboy, just as an example of whatever, something. But point of the story is you can get lots and lots of different things out of Echoboy, and it's a plugin that you should absolutely know inside and out, backwards and forwards, because it's a very, very powerful, multifaceted tool for an hour. All right, everybody, cheers. Have a great rest of the day.